before we, I think there's so much more we can talk about that. But one quick question.
Yeah.
So you went to BD, you made it for the '05 quad line, which is probably one of the still most talented, best quad lines that there has ever been. But BD, and correct me if I'm wrong, does the audition process where they do what's it called, the dogfight, where it's just basically like a last man standing, and it's kind of like an add a bar, like all right, learn this measure, all right, now learn this, add it on, add this next five counts on, add this next counts on, and they probably still do it like that. But I heard that you actually won that year that you auditioned.
And well, is what's funny. I don't remember that, which I should if I did, because Kendall was very good at learning beats, and so was Tim. Um, but no, they don't. I don't know if Rudy still does the dogfight. That was a Vega thing, and but it was very cool. And actually, I was very nervous for the dogfight. That was the thing I was most nervous for my individual, because I knew I didn't play quad beats like they did. I was like a cadet guy, and so I knew I was trying to play West Coasty, but I'd only been there for like 2 months, and then the dogfight just scared me because I knew they were going to be playing things that I was like just arounds. I was just less comfortable to the style at that time. So if I did win that, I don't remember, but that's badass. Tell your friends.
Yeah, well, we'll have to double check with Tim. Well, he'll remember. He would remember if he lost. That's for sure.
That's
Yeah.
probably why he would remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do your summer with BD. I'm assuming you just probably your eyes and your brain exploded with knowledge. But at any point, did you regret it? Because obviously cadets had a lot of success that year. '05, they won drums, they won the gold medal.
That's a great question. That's a great question because, of course, I thought about it, and there's a fun story to that. When I did, I didn't regret it during the beginning of the summer. I really loved it. The duality of the two cores. One was one way, and at Blue Devils, I learned a whole nother way to teach. And I think if you can combine those two worlds, you can be really successful because one, well, we won't get into it. Those are part of my secrets. But, so we got back from Europe. Cadets started kicking our ass. I had won 2 drum trophies and no world championship. Cadets were winning everything, drums and shows. And then we got to the end of the year and we got 4th place. I think the only time in the last 30 years Blue Devils has gotten 4th place. They hadn't medaled. And yeah,
That was the 1,000 Hours of Dance show, right?
yeah, it's called Dance Derby of the Century. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
You guys don't have to watch it. It's okay.
It's not the best.
Nobody watches it. There's a lot of other cool shows, but so when I finished, I thought, had I made a mistake? And in looking back at it, the answer is no. But what happened was I was marching this group called Black Knights indoor. They were a WGI group, and I marched them, and then I did Blue Devils, and I had one more year left to march. And Sean came to my house. Actually, he knocked on my front door and said, "Hey, if you want to march RCC, you got to come do the audition, but there's a spot for you. I'd love to have you. We'd love to have you. Let's do this." And I actually thought about it, and I turned him down, and I didn't march my age out at RCC, which would have been 2006, which was a sick quad book, by the way.
That was the geometric something show.
Yeah, it's the Sacred
They played the
Chants of
Missy Elliott.
Geometry. Yeah, it was Hercules, Sting.
Yeah,
Missy Elliott.
incredibly hard book.
Yeah, there was some quad. I mean, hell, just watch the opening quad break. It was just cool as hell. But anyway, yeah. So I said no, and then I did Black Knights, and then we didn't make finals. I don't think that year. And then RCC had that crazy meltdown, but that was a different thing. So I ended up like not winning my last drum corps when I could have, and then not making finals when I could have. So I had to kind of live with the fact that my last 2 seasons, even though they were at Blue Devils and all that, were a little bit less like I had less accolades, but I felt like I got more out of my process and my experience by making those choices, making some good ones. Because I don't think going to Blue Devils was a bad choice. I think it opened a lot of doors for me and allowed me to learn from people that are just incredible players. And it exposed me to a lot of, I think the best thing, forget teaching, just the players that I was around were just amazing. I mean, I really thought a lot of my students, I call them my students, but they were just badass players, and I was lucky, to work with them at the time. So, no, the answer is no, but at the time it was a blurry thing,
Yeah, totally understand. So you mentioned that in just doors that opened up. So you age out, then you end up teaching Glassman were you just there the 1 year? Is that right?
Yeah, well, '06 I aged out, and John Mapes reached out to me, and so I taught Esperanza, and John
Oh,
Mapes
okay. Okay.
wrote the book. Jim Wunderlich wrote the show, who was at Blue Devils and RCC for many years and is now at Broken Arrow. And Miguel Guadarrama was on staff. Jeremy Riley, the snare tech for Chino Hills the last 12 years, was the center snare. Ryan Anderson, who works at the Blue Coats and Pulse Percussion, was in the quad line. Jeremy was in the quad line. Brandon Zaki was in the quad line. Vanessa Vindiola, who does all the body movement for Broken City, was in that quad line. So that was a very cool experience. And I got to hang out with John Mapes. And John is the one who recommended to Sean that he should hire me at RCC. So actually, John got me my job at RCC, which ultimately led to my job at Blue Devils, I believe. So yes,
so yeah, I was gonna.
Glassman, yeah.
I was skipped over Glassman. You were there with Eric Ward, as you alluded to. And then what was your first year with RCC teaching?
Well, and Brandon, Zaki, and Dean were in that quad line as well.
That's right. Brandon and Dean, who then 2008, Brandon went to BD. Dean went to Crown, where Rudy was, and then followed BD in 09 and 2010.
Double BDs.
Yeah,
double BD.
Yeah. I hated Dean that summer because I was getting my ass rocked. I do not regret any of my years at Crown, but like I was just
talking about 09?
I'm sure it was just like what you were doing at Cadets. You're getting worked. And
was
then
that 09?
Yeah, 2009 Grass Dogs
Yeah,
Greener, and then 2010. And then I remember at the Atlanta Regional, I was just like, yeah, dude, blah blah blah, gotta go rehearsal. He's like, oh yeah, we're going to the hotel. I was like, hotel? He's like, yeah, we're staying in a hotel. And I was like, dude, get out of here.
yeah.
Blue Devils
they do
are a
some
whole
things
different
well.
world.
Yeah, they do some things well for sure. I don't know. I mean, a lot of corps have really upped their game, so I feel like
that's true.
There's a lot of good company out there. But
I think the member health has definitely upticked for a lot of groups out there.
Absolutely, and for good reason.
Yeah,
for good reason.
Yeah.
But what your first year teaching RCC was?
I started in the fall of 2006 as a quad.
Okay, with the school. Okay.
Yeah, with the marching band. So I did the marching band, and then my first winter was the winter of 2007. Memento was the name of that show.
Oh yeah. I remember my first. Yeah, was it Mike?
Do you
Jackson's
remember
kid at the end of that?
Yeah, and I think he just graduated college.
That's pretty wild to think about.
Yeah, his name's Nicholas. Yeah,
come out. We
kept in touch. Yeah,
come out and play those flam tracks.
Yeah, handmade. That drum was handmade out of like a drum set tom. It was a 10. The harness was handmade. We had a custom uniform made for him.
That is hilarious. One of the only things I remember from that show were the snare drummers doing like their split feature and playing rock paper scissors while they played drums.
Yeah, yeah. There was some very cool things in that show. At the time, it was pretty avant-garde.
Oh yeah. It's crazy how fast the activity evolves. So as you alluded to, that started your tenure with RCC, and then eventually led to your tenure and gig with the Blue Devils. So you were at RCC 07. What was your last year?
2017.
2017. Was that the tree show?
No, that was 15.
Okay.
So I was there for 2 more. We did the trees. Then we did the choke one, the rope one. You remember
yes,
that?
Yeah. That's a good one.
The creepy one, and then the last one was the dragonfly one. It was based off of a Buddhist poem. I can't remember what the name of the show was, but it was about dragonflies or dragonfly was the medium because it was about the life of the lotus flower. And
that Guardians of the Breath show is still probably my favorite indoor show of all time.
Dude, so sick. That was and I worked hard on that show. I gave lessons to the members. We really put a lot of work into that, like as a staff in general, like that was,
there was a huge payoff. I mean, I think that still probably should hold the WGI record, but I won't go into that. Well, I've already been under that on this podcast several times, so it's fine. But I just love that show. And actually, you probably haven't seen this, but Mike and I did a breakdown a while back. We took, what was it, Rhythm X, RCC, MCM, Pulse, and then started in on Broken City when they kind of came to their fruition. But we were like analyzing second wise, like how much does each snare line play during the show, and then
don't do that, dude.
And then how?
Oh, we
and
did.
then how much? And then how much does the actual battery play? Like any battery section. So we're just like, and we broke it down. It's on. We still have it. It's on our Instagram page, but. Yeah, for some reason, Mike gave me all the Rhythm X and RCC shows, so I was just like, bring it on. So I just fell in love with so many RCC shows that I was watching and clocking their time and stuff. But
I just like Sean's willing to take a risk. When some groups will write a duple roll, he'll write, the idea is, but the way he sticks it or phrases it, he's willing to take a risk. But not everybody can do that either. You got to have people that are willing to try to be mature with stuff like that, not to say that other people aren't, but it's just dangerous. It's muddy water.
And I will say too,
you don't get any credit for that. You know what I mean? You don't get any credit for
that's
that.
One of those things that
right.
You're going to know it's there, but is the judge really ever going to pick up on the difficulty or the sticking change or anything like that? Yeah.
No, not unless it's super obvious, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But that one thing you said there, RCC shows were never, like, it was never a mold. Like, I'd watch it and be like, well, this show's completely different than the last year, and this show's completely different than the year next.
Tunings were different, shows different. Yeah, we did a lot of things different every year.
And they were, I think a lot of indoor groups, this is my personal opinion, can do angry well. It's a fairly easy emotion to portray while you're drumming, because drumming it's just easy.
Drumming's aggressive.
Angry is A class, basically.
Yeah.
If you want my opinion, I think that's my go-to with a young ensemble, because it is the easiest emotion to express.
They're going to be able to perform it. Like, just perform, just like grit your teeth and like dig in, Yeah. But like figuring out how to like make someone smile while you're playing and
it look natural.
And look natural and look smooth. And I remember that too for the 2018 show, which I know you didn't teach there that year, but the ending of that where they're doing all just those callbacks from years and years, and they're just like skipping around the floor. I was like, this closer is just phenomenal. Just the construction of it.
Yeah. Well, cool about RCC is they can. Rhythm X did something like that recently too. I'm trying to remember what year that was, but they did one where they
2017. It was like it was like.
It's like my favorite things almost. It was like they were doing some things from each group, and I thought that was pretty cool too.
Yeah. So obviously, you had a lot of. Do you have a favorite RCC show that you were involved with?
Yes. So when I started there in 2007 for the winter, I was the quad tech, and I got promoted to the caption head in 2011. So my first season of really running, like scheduling the staff, running rehearsals, making changes, being there for everything was 11. And it was fairly successful, and it was very artistic. I liked that show. And if
the
anybody's
paper aeroplane show,
yes, it's called Hope Dream Fly. And actually, the vocalist for that is Broken City's vocalist, Adam Watts.
Oh yeah.
So same guy. But my favorite RCC show, there was two of them. 2012, I really enjoyed.
The Gift.
That's
and
a good
it was
show.
I really enjoyed that one because for two reasons. The staff we were around a lot, and so there was really some cool things that happened where we were just there and we would play with some ideas like the slow-mo drum bomb drop. Like that was Sean's idea, but just being around for it was cool. Matt Regwa and I really honed our sectional time and the way we scheduled it. Like we were really organized. Like sometimes it was down to like 30 to 45 minute things. We would stick to it. We were bringing people on and off the floor. Everything was moving and cyclically, and that was really fun. The quad line was amazing. It was everybody that was pretty much there the year before with the addition of Chris Drummer. So it was really fun. It was Cheese's. No, it wasn't Cheese's last year. That was Cheese's first year as a section leader. Jesus Sanchez, and who's getting his jazz degree from Peter Erskine at USC. But he killed it just as a section leader. He ended up marching Vanguard, I think, the summer before. So that really helped because it brought new stuff. And him and I butted heads a lot because he was trying to do their thing and I was trying to do mine. But ultimately it was cool because we got, we grew from that. And then 2015 was also, and I know we won both those years, and that was like the cherry on top. But for me, I think the reason we won is the reason I enjoyed the season was because there was just the amount of work that went into it, the members, their attitudes, like the vibe of the group, the vibe of the staff, the music. all those things combined for me are the fun. It's the journey for me. I like the process. I actually don't like going to finals so much. It's sad. It's boring. It's over. For me, I like being there at 9 a.m. and the Met comes on and like that you're looking around and it's the first thing you've done since you drank coffee and everybody's got sticks in their hands. It's like the best thing ever. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, that's actually funny. Dean used to always say something like that too. He's like, "Man, I actually don't like going to shows. They're super stressful. I'd rather just rehearse." I was like, I know what you mean, but at the same time, like if you never went to shows, Dean, like you'd just be like, "Why am I doing this?" But that was kind of his mindset. He's like, "Man, the lot is like stressful. Like you can't you can't mess up. Like everybody's watching you." I was like, I get it, but that's almost like the juice too. You're just like, "Oh, give it to me, the adrenaline."
Yeah, exactly. That's a high amount of focus, man.
Yeah, it is. It is, especially playing those freaking. I swear it's the hardest quad exercise. The BD flams. It's like whoever the quad section leader is or quad tech. It's just like, how hard can we make the flams around this year?
Yeah.
But anyway, so your RCC gig. What got you your kind of introduction into BD? What was your first year at Blue Devils teaching?
So. It's a very cool story. 2012 was my first season on staff there. And I'll just kind of run you through it. So I was in Japan in 2011 working for Universal Studios. Excuse me. Sorry about that, everybody. I was working at Universal Studios in Japan. I came back. I had made the decision that I was going to leave Riverside, move to LA, and pursue studio work or a drum set life. And within 2 weeks, I got a phone call, and it was Scott Johnson. And Scott called, and he said, "Hey, you got a second?" I was like, "Yeah, of course. Anything, for the Don, talk to me." And so he was like, "Hey, I got a weird question for you." And all this time, I'm thinking he's going to ask me to be the quad tech. This is it. I'm going to be the quad tech. I got a weird question for you. How would you feel about being the snare tech? And immediately I was like, I can't do that. Like, that's what in my mind, I was like, there's no way, for many reasons, but most of it was just, insecurities and imposter syndrome kind of thing. And he was like, look, it's kind of an interesting situation. Your student, who was Jeremy's student, and I had been with Nick for 4 or 5 years, Nick RC, the section leader wasn't coming back. Nick felt like the group needed leadership, so he was going to leave the quad section and be the center snare. And this was like a big thing, because you just don't do that. And
most people don't play quads for the Blue Devils and play snare drum for the Blue Devils.
As the center snare, I'm so happy you went here because I'm sitting here smiling because I was like, this is one of the areas that I wanted to ask him about. So please continue. Yeah,
I've got a lot of insight into some of how these things kind of panned out. And it was very cool. So he asked me, Nick's your student. I talked to Sean. He said that you and Nick have a great relationship, which we do, and we always have. Nick, from the beginning, I never thought him as a student. I say that just because for the podcast, but I mean, I really love that guy. He's a brother to me, and I would go to fisticuffs for him if needed, but we don't have to do that anymore because we're normal adults. But I love the guy. So and I loved his drumming. I learned a lot from Nick too. So he told me about that. So I said, yeah, I think I'd be interested. So let me talk to Nick. So I get off the phone. I call Nick, and this is the best part of the story. So I'm talking to Nick. He's like, yeah, dude, I'm going to do it. Are you in? And I was like, I think I should. He was like, dude, who cares? Just do it. It'll be fun. And we'll get to do it together. And I was like, Nick, you know how effing crazy it would be is if we're here, 9 months from now, looking at each other, and we just won a drum trophy, 2 quad players teaching the snare line, being the center snare line. And what if we won drums? Like, how crazy would that be? So we do the year, and then sure enough, we won. Not only we were undefeated, but we got the Fred Sanford. So we did stand on the field.
Us. You beat us.
we had our moment, dude. And I generally think I honestly never saw you guys. I always stayed pretty tight to I was more of a gangster style drum and tech. I didn't do too much watching. I was very much I didn't want to be influenced. I wanted to be influenced by things that weren't other drum lines, for my creativity and style and things like that. So I didn't watch a lot, but yeah. So that was a very cool moment. And, as a quad guy, Scott's old school. And at that time, it's not as much now. I think a lot of the kids now are very talented, but it was like a big thing. Like, quad drummers can't play traditional. And then for a long time, I wore that in the back of my mind. Like, yeah, I can, but I'm not a real snare drummer, a real traditional player. And, side tangent, I've been doing all this jazz stuff. And actually, I was playing match because I was like, well, I'm a match guy. And I've been doing lessons. And the guy was like, well, play tradition. And I was like, so I played. And he was like, you have a great left hand. Because, of course, I've chopped out years and years and years with at least high school kids. And he was like, I think people would take you more seriously as a jazz drummer if you just play traditional. And so here I am now practicing traditional every day. And no one's going to give a shit about my rotation.
No, not at all.
No one cares, dude.
No.
And I bet I'm going to have a sweet
I would even argue, too, in modern DCI, WGI, people care less and less, too, about what your hands look like to a degree. But the focus, and thank God, it's shifted more to, well, what do your hands sound like?
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. What kind of can you balance? Can you play the volume the same? Like, if you don't rotate exactly like the person in and inside and out of you, I don't really care if it's clean and it sounds the same. I think that it's shifted a little bit more towards that, which I'm totally down with. Obviously, uniformity, there is pros to that as well, but yeah.
Well, I mean, if we want to go there, I mean, the uniformity from hell, I'll even just say 2002, my years from before that was that was all it was. Identity was everything. And a lot of the instructors, had some college degrees and stuff. But I think a lot of them too were just drummers, and it was more of a language that was passed down, what's that?
Yeah. I mean,
phonetic?
You look back at those videos with Heidi, wearing her drum, way up and on her torso, and you're like, that's just not right.
Yeah. That can't be comfortable. That can't be comfortable.
It does help with your left hand rotation, though. The higher the left is. That's why I always lean to the left when I'm on the
pad. But it's funny you mentioned, anytime there's a conversation or Mike or who won drums that year? Oh, it's probably BD. So that 2012 year. Well, now it is for sure Vanguard.
Yeah, now it's Vanguard every year.
Yeah.
I am for sure salty about my 2009 not winning drums and being second. But I told Mike, I was like, at least the year that you got beat by BD, they were good. They were really good.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They were really good in 2009, but I did not think that they were better. I would say that they were probably better than Bluecoats, but that's just.
And again, anyway. I actually haven't seen any other show from 2009. I was studying abroad in Japan. I did no drum corps. I was a student the summer of 2009. I actually did watch. Okay, I'm lying, but it was in Japan. I watched some YouTube videos of you guys, actually, and because all I remember is the green drums.
Green drums.
Yeah. I was like, Zach.
I want one of those green drums. I wish I had one.